Welcome to another figure week, hard surface week, organic week.
Hey everyone, my name is Ahmed Al-Douri. I'm a concept artist and former instructor at Art Center College of Design, Brainstorm, CCS, CGMA, and various other places. And I would like to introduce to you this digital painting course that I've created. But before we get into anything, I just want to thank you for the support you've all given me this whole time. And with the support of so many of you, I've been able to put together everything I know about painting into this digital painting course. You want to become a pro illustrator, concept artist, or even just a hobbyist, but you don't have a clear map to get there. And that's where I come in. I spent the last 6 months compiling everything I know from my 20 years of art practice, and I've turned it all into a map. Starting with foundations such as rendering shapes, color theory, painting basic subjects, understanding brushwork, brush economy, all that fun stuff, deconstructing the skull, drawing it from every angle, all the way to master studies, stylized painting, and you'll find yourself at the end of the course doing a concept art project based on everything that we learn in the first 14 lessons. So how does it work? Well, you sign up, you watch the lectures, do the assignments, post them to the community page if you want, and treat it as a self-study, except for those of you who have signed up for the weekly meeting, where I personally critique your work in a virtual classroom setting. I believe learning by repetition is super important. That's what I've sort of presented a lot in this course, and the assignments are tailored for that, as adapted from my time teaching at Art Center. And each of these lessons have step-by-step explanations in real time. If you've ever seen my videos, you know exactly how I teach. And this course is intended to be a substitute for a college level course, but you don't have to pay the $4,000 or $5,000 per class, racking up maybe $200K in debt. With my custom design course, you'd be paying a fraction of that. And of course, I also have payment plan options if you don't want to pay for the whole thing at once. Thank you for watching this, and I'll see you soon.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Digital Artcast. Here back again with another great episode, talking to lovely people from around the world, and hoping that you guys are again enjoying your time indoors. I know that it seems like this pandemic has gone on forever, but hopefully, please God, it will end soon and life will return to normal. Another great episode, focusing again on games production and 3D. As we've been doing for the last couple of episodes, trying to break up between illustration, audio, different disciplines, but yeah, 3D is one of these ones that are near and dear to my heart, so it's always great when I get to talk to someone who is within the same field, the same industry, has the same kind of interests, so yeah, a great one for you today. This person that I have on today is someone that I've wanted on for a long time, but again, as with these podcast setups, trying to nail people down with schedules can be difficult. Especially with some companies that they may work for, just finding time in between projects, it can be a challenge. So luckily today we have an amazing guest on, and I'll let them introduce themselves. But today, can you please welcome along Mary Sue Challinor. Hey Mary, how are you doing? And oh God, I cannot unmute you. Why is that? There is a Can you unmute yourself, Mary? Can you do that? Can you click the little mute
Oh
button?
yeah, sorry.
There you go. Hey,
Hiya.
off to a great start, aren't we? Yes,
Oh yeah,
fantastic.
totally.
Fucked it up already.
No, that was way too nice of an intro though. When realistically, I'm just a bit of a pain in the ass. But yeah.
Oh no, you're all good. See, this is the thing. We're talking before we started recording, guys, and Mary was like, "Why have you got me on? What are we going to talk about?" But you're a legend, Mary. You're good people. Yeah, you have some nice 3D chops behind you and some great games you've worked on. So yeah, there's plenty to talk about. So yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. So yeah, for people who don't know you, can you give yourself a little introduction of who you are and where you work?
Yeah, sure. So, well, my title is Environment Artist, but I work for the props team at Ubisoft Reflections in Newcastle. Previously from Coatsink, did some stuff for Dekogon, and my first job was at Sumo Digital in Sheffield.
Cool, awesome, and that's, I mean, for even people I know, that's a big resume. Like, you know, you've definitely hit some of the major milestones in maybe specifically the 3D field, but especially the UK 3D field, right? I mean, Sumo in themselves are a big team, even though they might not seem like they're you know, massive in size and scale, but some of the projects I've worked on are crazy big, and you know, Coatsink also great studio, and of course Dekogon. I mean, if people are in the CG world or even in the 3D world, you know, they will know who Dekogon are. Clinton, shout out. Who I'm hoping to have on soon as well. By the way, Clinton's lining up for an episode at one point, so yeah, hopefully that'll happen soon. But then I think the most popular one I saw way back was the fridge you done, the mini cooling fridge.
Oh right, yeah, the Decagon one. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was a cool one.
yeah. I mean, like, you've done a fair few projects and a fair few different companies. And again, was it something that you studied way back in the day? Did you go to school for this, or?
So it's kind of like a weird and really long-winded story, actually.
Fantastic.
Great. So, right, I'll go right from the beginning then. So I was born
Yep.
in 1990. No, but, I originally wanted to be like an English teacher.
Okay.
So I started to like go to college and do all like English literature and stuff.
Right.
But then I was just like, oh, this is so boring. I can't do this. But that's all
You're
I
honest.
ever known as well, because like,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, when you're at school, you're just surrounded by teachers, and you're like, oh yeah, that's probably I'll just do that. But I was always playing games, and
Mm-hmm.
then like it must have been like all the stars align, and then something happened. But it was so weird, you know, like sometimes when you have these really off days and you're just bored and you don't know what to do, so you end up checking your spam emails.
Okay.
I I went into my spam emails
Mm-hmm.
like once. I probably do this like twice a year,
Right.
and then I got an email from this company called Train to Game, which I realize now is probably like a weird scam or something. Looking back, I
Yeah.
didn't finish it, but
I got approached with them way back in the day when I first left my job, and I think I'd put something on social media or some kind of mailing list for 2D art. They also got in touch with me, but then yeah, I
yeah.
did realize pretty quick. Yeah, they were kind of like a scam. Yeah,
Yeah, it's sad, really, but
yeah,
yeah. In one sense, though, it was a blessing in disguise, because despite my parents paying thousands of pounds for this course, it helped me
right,
get on track to where I want to go.
right,
Made me realize that you can do it as a career and stuff.
right,
So from there, I switched college, and then basically I did a media games and animation at
right,
Rotherham College in Sheffield. And
right.
then I went to university in Sheffield, and then from there I just got my first job at Sumo, and then the rest is history, really.
I mean, you're definitely glossing over. I mean, you said long-winded and weird, but
I tried
you've,
to keep it short.
you've only talked for like a minute, but but no, I mean, like, so I mean, breaking into the industry, as you and I both know, is no an easy thing, right? Some
Yeah.
people, I mean, I know me personally, I've worked for years towards getting where I am, right? Even at this point, but for you, so Sumo was the first kind of stop, but where was the juncture between leaving school and getting into Sumo? Like, were you applying there? Were they headhunting? How did that come about?
So, towards the end of the course, that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
when I realized I wanted to do environments. And
Mm-hmm.
I did I've actually hidden it on my portfolio because it's very cringy, but I did a remake environment for Elder Scrolls Morrowind.
Right.
Um, and that was quite well received when I was applying for companies.
Right.
But I got my foot into sumo specifically because they were advertising through our course like a voluntary role for gameplay balances. And
Right.
I'd already
Okay.
done this years prior on a Sonic game. And
Right.
then they were doing it for Crackdown 3. Is it
Okay.
Crackdown 3 or Crackdown? Yeah, Crackdown 3.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I applied for that.
Mm-hmm.
I got in, and then I did like a 2 weeks gameplay balance in the team. And I applied for QA because they had
Right.
an opening. And then at the same time, I was approached by Playground, and I got an offer from CodeSync as well. And
Right.
then Sumo called me up and was like, "Oh, you've applied for QA, but we've seen your portfolio. You sure you don't want to do environment instead?" But at this point, they didn't actually have it like on the website, and I was like,
Right.
"Oh hell yeah!" Because I've always wanted to work there. And
Right.
then, yeah, I just I
Dive
don't
into
know
that
how I
headfirst.
got it, but I did.
Well, I mean, you're obviously were doing something right, and I mean, I think people don't want to look back on their older stuff
Yeah,
too much, right? Because it seems like it's cringy, but then at the time, it was probably something you were pretty proud of. Like you probably finished that and looked at it and went, "That's pretty good." Like that's something maybe know the best thing in the industry, but like for me, that was like a milestone. That was something like I worked really hard on, and it's turned out to be really good. So, and obviously at the time, it also was great because you got a job offer from it, from several
yeah,
places. You're
yeah,
telling me. So, I mean, I think it's very common in this industry. Everybody can be quite self-deprecating. You can say it yourself, like, my work's crap, and blah, blah, blah. But then I think I look back at the things I was first doing in 3D, and it's the same thing, right? You think to yourself, it was crap, but then at the time you were learning, and then you look at where you are now and you think, how did I get this far? But you just keep on keeping on. Basically, that's kind of the thing, isn't it? You just keep going forward in one direction, and eventually you get somewhere. But I mean, sumo, especially. How old were you when you got hired by sumo?
I must have been 21, 22. Wait, how old am I now? 20. It's
Just
gone
checking in.
so fast, honestly.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah, it must have been. I've been in the industry like 5 or 6 years, so must have
right.
been 21, 22. Yeah,
Right. And again, I think for entering a professional industry at that age is still a great achievement. Like, me sitting here in my 30s. But obviously I worked as an engineer beforehand, but still, I feel like there's such an intake of younger generations in the game industry, and it really is crazy how, like most studios, you'll know yourself where you work. There is probably a scattering of age groups, but yeah, it seems to be that people in their early 20s are just like diving into these roles now, and
oh
it's
yeah, yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we're
I mean,
lucky though because we've got more like course offerings and we get more guidance.
right,
Whereas like years and years ago, it's like it seems harder. Like a lot of people I used to work with at Sumo are like, well, some are like near on retiring and they've come back from like graphic backgrounds and stuff.
right. So
So
didn't they go to
it's very
school
different.
specifically for game stuff?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's quite common as well. I think even we were talking about this the other day where um, when I first left my job in 2012, like, ArtStation wasn't even a thing yet, right? It wasn't even a blip in anybody's eyes. It was non-existent, and online learning, especially. I mean, Nomon was pretty much one of the only, apart from maybe like some online forums that were doing professional teaching. And now, I mean, like YouTube is littered with learning. Like, there's just so much free stuff
yeah,
out there, including all the things that ArtStation now, because also Epic just bought them. Like a lot of their ArtStation learning resources are all free. So I mean, it's just there's almost no excuse to learn, right? I mean, like no excuse not to learn because
yeah,
there's so much stuff just sitting out there ready to be used. And then like I've just found this, and I've only been in the industry or been working for money, like been working professionally for a month, but even I can see the benefit of working in the team I'm working with people who are more experienced than me, right? Like you learn exponentially quicker
Oh
when you
yeah, yeah.
are thrown into an environment where people are, feeding back to you, letting you know how your stuff looks, giving you critiques. So what was the first like year or 2 years of sumo like? Like was it super intense? Were you like swimming and then sinking or sinking and swimming? Like, I mean, especially for the stuff you worked on, right? Because the first ship project you done was it Hitman or was it Crackdown?
Yeah, Hitman.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So did you feel like it was a lot at the time you went into the role? Did you feel quite panicky, or did you handle it quite well? Like, how was it?
Well, oh, it was pretty insane actually. I remember like for the first few weeks, I didn't like it didn't sink in where I was, if you get what I mean. Like I was sat at my desk like, what am I doing? What is this? This is a game. But in the first month of working at Sumo alongside all these professionals, like
Right.
I
Yeah.
sat next to somebody who worked on like GTA 5 and
Right.
GTA like
Yeah.
Vice City and stuff.
Wow.
And I learned more in that first month than I ever did 4 years at uni. Like for sure,
Right. Yeah.
completely
Yeah.
different. It's just such a different experience when you're actually in it. And I feel like, once you're in it, you're in it.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I think getting your foot in the door is the hardest bit, right? But then
Yeah.
once you're in, then like I says, it goes on exponentially. Like you just get offered more and more opportunities. There's more and more doors open. More and more people see your work, or you get more and more experience. So you're getting trusted with stuff like you go for junior to mid, you go for mid to lead. Like you can take up these positions super quick if you're dedicated enough in what you're doing. But then you were at Sumo for quite a bit, like so what, like 2, 3 years, something like that for Sumo.
I think it's like 18 months, something like
Okay,
that.
year and
Yeah.
a half, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so what was the jump from Sumo to Coatsink, and why was that a thing you went to?
Um, that was more like for personal reasons. So I was,
Right,
I'm originally from Sheffield.
right,
It made sense for me to work in Sheffield. I loved the people. I loved the job. I like
right,
always referred to it as the Disneyland of the industry because of how nice it is to work there.
right.
Um, so the only reason I went to Coatsink was to be closer to my partner because I was commuting 6 hours a day total. So I was getting like 4 trains a day, um,
Jesus.
and it was insane. Yeah, but it's like in my eyes, it was worth the commute because it was
Right,
that
of course,
that
yeah.
nicer place
But
to work.
still, I mean, wow, yeah, like
Yeah.
it's intense. Yeah, I mean, like, I think that's one of these things that people never think about because we get so many people talking about like, oh, I just moved here and moved here because this opportunity, because they were paying me
Hmm.
more money, or this project was even more amazing. But then you were like, oh no, but my partner was there, and I wanted to be close to family and friends, and
Yeah.
it's something I think is lost in the industry. I think it's something that you know, like people don't really talk about often is like the human element of
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah, like especially because you have a kid as well, right? So
yeah.
balancing that and work, of course, is something that I couldn't even fathom because I find it hard enough just to try and focus on your work, never mind looking
Yeah.
after somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, it's a lot to take in. I mean, have you found, has it been difficult, like having the little one plus like working full time and stuff? That it's that just been a balancing act for
Oh
the
my
ages?
gosh, yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's been so difficult, especially like since I've not been in school because he's only 7, so
right.
he needs a lot of attention. Even if it's just talking about Godzilla for like 4 hours, he needs attention, especially because he's by himself. He doesn't have any siblings.
Of course, right,
But I'm actually really lucky because a lot of people that I know in industry that have kids have really, really struggled. But
right.
Ubisoft have been like amazing with people with
Yeah,
kids. Like
that's good.
I've been able, like if I can't go to a meeting, I can just be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, guys, I need to make Leonard's food or something," and
Right.
they've been so good with it. And honestly, I
Hmm.
don't think I would have been. I don't think I'd have done it anywhere else. So
Right. Yeah, because just to support their. I mean, that is a
yeah.
good thing, like to be shouting from the rooftops, because I think people have these horror stories sometimes about people working in the industry and how tough it is to balance stuff, and a lot of companies aren't family friendly and then they really support you with if you have kids, if you have a partner, like loads of things like that. So
Yeah.
thank God for that, right? I mean, yeah, at
Oh,
least
I
there's
know.
some.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you moved up to Coat Sync and you were doing. I mean, it says officially on your art station, which I think is almost like Artist IMDb. Was Transformers, right?
Yeah.
So how did Dekogon come into the mix? Was that something you were doing outside of Coat Sync as well? Were you doing that on top, like freelance outside of full time in Coat Sync?
Yeah. So I was doing full time coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Same company as my partner, which was awesome. Um,
Right.
uh, on the stylized Transformers game,
Mm-hmm.
but I've always considered myself, like I've loved photorealistic props. I just feel like they're more difficult in some senses. Um, I just so I was
Enjoy them
just
more.
like trying
Yeah.
to do a bit more in my spare time, and I was like, oh, I want to get back into AAA. That's
R-
where I am most comfortable after the experience with sumo.
right.
I like the organization and things like that, and the stability and whatnot. Well, you
Right.
could go on about that for hours, but
Of course. Yeah.
so I was like, right, I'm gonna do an environment. So I picked out like this post-apocalyptic thing,
Right.
and the first asset that I picked off it was the oven. But then by the
Right.
time I'd finished the oven, I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this environment anymore. So I just put that on my portfolio. And then, yeah, I think I messaged Clinton and I was like, it was either I messaged him or he messaged me. It was so long ago, I cannot remember.
Right.
Um, or I might have applied through email or something.
Right.
I think
Right.
it might have
Okay.
been there. Yeah. And I was
Right.
like, oh,
Right.
I've always wanted to do Decagon stuff because at uni they were like rock stars to our
Right.
course. So I
Right.
was like, oh, I'm just going to do it. Nothing's going to happen, but I'm going to do it anyways. Sent it off. And Clinton was like, oh, yeah, this is great. Let's do some stuff. So I joined the collab stuff to do, when they do the asset packs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I started off doing some of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was invited to do some contract stuff, and that was so amazing, so fun. And I think that's what basically led me to get my job at Ubisoft. That experience there, so
Yeah.
I was really
Yeah.
lucky there.
I mean, it's funny how for the career you've had, right, and the things you've worked on, your portfolio seems smaller, but no in a bad way, right? I think
Yeah,
it's the exact thing people talk about where, I mean, Jeremy just talked about this in Dynasty not too long ago at Decon. He was like, I'd rather see a portfolio with 6 pieces that are well done than 60 pieces that are half-assed. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
every, and I can see why, I mean, like, the reason I saw that, the the oven was going about for a while, right? And I definitely was commenting on your posts and talking to you about it back and forth, like when you were posting it. And I can see why Clinton liked it. Like it's one of the things that you can see in Dekogon where, the attention to detail, like it is just over, like over the top. Like there's just so much nuances and little bits, and like even the fact that on the front, like the symbols for the clickers are all like they're there, but then they're kind of rubbed off, like they have been worn, and
yeah,
but just the right amount. Like it doesn't look like it's been erased. It kind of looks like it has been faded over time or been cleaned and it's been rubbed away. Like all that stuff when you look at anything in Decagon, is that right? Every single prop they make is just nuanced to hell. Like there's
yeah,
just so many things. I mean, you know this, right? You work with Hannah, like, and you've seen her work also. Like the stuff she
yeah,
does, like it's the same kind of vibe where you just like pour your heart into a prop, basically. And
yeah,
yeah, I'm definitely feeling that now. Like I'm doing like this whole scene right now in a model and stuff, and it's like it's a warehouse that has like multiple things lying about it. And I got to the end of like one of the generators I was building, and I was like. I'm so fucking done. Like I just want
Oh, the thing that you posted on Facebook. I think I've seen
yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah, the generator, like building that gen, like as I'm no joke, took me something like a week solid worth of work. And I mean, I'm trying to do obviously new after work, but like once I finished that generator, I was really just like, I could just post this, I could just be done, could bake this down and texture it and just be finished. But I don't know, there's something in me. I'm kind of like, I should just keep going. I should just keep just keep going, just finish the scene. Like once it's finished, it'll be done. But it's so much work, you know. And I mean, I've always seen the funny thing when people talk about the distinction between props and environment artists. But like, I think props and environment have, with the, you know yourself, they have so much in common because an environment is just a scene made up of props, right? So,
Yeah.
But like the classroom, especially that you worked on way back, like I mean, that was, you know, again, just oozing with just personality, and every prop was just, it felt lived in, and everything felt touched in some way. Like, I mean, how do you tackle something on that scale? I mean, like, is it just that you're kind of just by the numbers breaking it down per person, doing so many props, and or you work in like small collective teams, or like, I mean, obviously without getting too much into Dekogon's internal process that you can't talk about, but like when you're approaching those kind of like packs, like the classroom, like how do you start something like that?
Well, that was done like by a large team of us.
Right.
But the consistency of quality in the props is a lot down to like the amazing leadership they've got there. Like they go through every single prop, give personalized feedback to everybody, and so that they get to the same quality in the end.
Right.
But I wasn't actually involved in the environment creation there. I just did a couple of small props near the end of the project.
Right.
But something that's quite ironic, actually, you know how you mentioned your generator thing?
Right.
That was the next prop on my environment list, and I started the generator, and that's what made me start my environment. I've still got the model, and it's like when I saw yours on Facebook, it made me feel a little bit physically sick because I was like thinking of mine. Oh, I hate, you know, like the reference gathering for those things.
Oh my god! It's just when
Those
like
shapes.
I started to. It was fucking annoying me. Is what it was, because every time I finished a wee piece and I kept turning the reference, I was like, Jesus Christ, there's more. There's
Oh
there's
yeah.
so many internal, like there's a whole combustion engine and an exhaust and all these wires for the fuel. I was like, jeez. And then like just the front panel fixing the buttons and the turn, I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh my
Yeah.
God, this is taking forever. Whereas like, I actually went away, you know what helped me? I just went away from it and modelled a set of ladders because like it
Yeah.
was something just simple. I could just fire it out. I even made a bin at one point. I was like, oh, thank God, it's done. Like it's a bin,
Yeah.
it's finished. It looks all right. Like, but then even the bin, because like, you know, when you start getting to a level where you build things, right, and you start to feel a bit professional about your work, you try to nuance every minutia of your model, and even making the wheels for the bin. I'm not joking you. Like I was like like moving verts at one point, like just like inch by inch and making sure they were all sitting in the wheel properly. And
Yeah.
God, I was like, oh, I'll just stick the thing through it and nobody will notice. I was like, no, I should really build like a hole for it to go through and something for it to sit in. And then I built the bolts and then I built the wee bearings and I was like, oh God, I really need it. And then by the end of it, I'd spent like an hour on a wheel. I was like, oh my God, like just
Yeah.
it eats away at your life. It really does. But then
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah.
it's like an obsessive compulsive thing. I think when I just get started on something, I can't stop myself. I just can't like pull myself away for finishing it. And that generator was like, oh God, it was I mean, like a labour of love. Like I did enjoy it in the end, but like I think I got to a point where it was done. Like it was enough. Like there was enough pieces inside it. I was like, Navy's going to look that close. Like it's going to sit in a scene. It's done enough. Like I didn't need to add
Yeah, definitely.
anything else. Like at this point, it's something like 36,000 tries for the high poly. I was like, there's nothing else needs to go in that. It's done. It's finished. So
Yeah, it's hard to like figure out when to stop, especially if it's in an environment, because I feel like, you know, when you're making props and if you're just a prop artist, it's easy to be like, oh, this has got to be the sexiest prop alive, it's got to look amazing.
yeah.
But realistically, it's just gonna go like in some tall grass or something stupid, and you're never gonna see all this detail. And then when you get feedback too, it's like, oh yeah, no, there's too much on it. You got to take it back, make it more simple, because it's not a hero prop. It's so hard.
Like I can't win. I just can't win. Like I either do nothing or too much. Like there's no in between. Like fuck. I mean, like it was the same probably. Like you'll find now. I mean, you done some obviously last minute stuff on the classroom, but then was the fridge, because obviously for Dekogon I'm used to seeing scenes rather than just sometimes individual props. So we like the fridge, and of course your latest one was the throne. Were these things that were in packs, or you were doing as a collective, or was this stuff that you were getting just individual assignments, or?
So it was like, the collab packs, the asset packs. You
Right.
got to pick which
Hmm.
ones that you wanted to do.
Right.
So those were two of them I picked. I picked the cooler actually as my first one because I thought, oh, it's small enough. I can, get my hands stuck in, learn the process, give me a good opportunity to learn how they give feedback and whatnot.
Right.
And then I did the throne, which was a similar thing. I thought, oh, it's got a little bit of cloth on it. I want to try something there, learn something there.
Some cloth sim stuff, right?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
most of the stuff actually that I did there, I haven't got on my portfolio. I don't think I'm all right to do that.
Yeah, but then it's one of these things as well, yourself, like, you worry about putting stuff in your portfolio constantly, but then you get to a level where, like, you didn't really need stuff in your portfolio. Like,
Yeah.
your namesake is good enough that, people know how good your stuff is. They didn't really need to see tons of it. If there's one or two good pieces on there, then that's enough. And, I mean, the fridge itself, the cooler is, like, again, it's, and no in a bad way, but simple enough, but then, like, it's so well done, like, it doesn't have to be like an engine, like we talked about the generators, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
people look at those things like it's 3D porn, right? Like, oh my god, like, there's
Yeah.
so many valves and screws, and if I model this, and there's so many there's a lot of things in it, but it doesn't mean that it's going to maybe look any better than the cooler, right? Like, it's just that
Yeah.
there's more things in it. It doesn't mean that it's a better prop. And
Yeah.
the thing, again, I think, even where the difference between I've seen in junior 3D modelers and people who are obviously more advanced, I think, is the texture and lighting work, right? You can model to
Yeah.
an extent, but then when you take your texture and lighting to the next step, then that's when your stuff starts to really, like, look amazing, that it can sit in a world that it feels like it's part of the world. Was there a point you felt like, maybe even before you went to Ubisoft, or when you got to Ubisoft, that you felt like you had leveled up? Did you feel like there was certain things you were doing, like even in your personal stuff or stuff you were doing when you were open, your 3D package, that you felt it had changed? Because I mean, it's a weird question to ask, and I don't know if I could even answer it myself, but I know there's certain points I've got to where I've modeled stuff, and I thought to myself, that's better than what I can usually do. I
Yeah.
seem to have went forward a wee bit. What's happened here? But was there a point, do you think, before you went to? Did you feel ready for Ubisoft? Did you feel like you were kind of hitting the ground running there?
It's kind of weird actually. Like, I think it's just an artist trope, isn't it? Like, you hate your own work, and I
Yeah,
did
yeah.
for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just sort of happened overnight, and it was really strange.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was mostly down to starting to use Substance Painter because
Mm-hmm.
when I was in Sumo, we didn't use Substance Painter. We basically textured in Photoshop and stuff. And
Right.
then when I got to CoatSync, Hannah was my lead at that point, and she was wanting us to learn Substance Painter for the project. And
Right.
honestly, to be honest, in many ways, I probably owe my career to Hannah for making me learn Substance Painter.
Right.
And then from that, I just kind of went overnight from, like, the crap that I had on my portfolio to the oven the next week after learning Substance Painter.
Right.
Because I found it, like, way more fun, and it kind of just, like, once you start having fun with it, that's when it gets better, like, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. I can definitely attest to that. Like, I know myself, the fact that, because for me, like, I mean, mere personal reasons, but for me, initially, the biggest concern I had the last couple of years was money, right? Because I was
Yeah.
working from like freelance gig to freelance gig. I was getting like a wee bit of work here, but then for a couple of months, nothing. So it just was like a constant stress. And when I opened Maya or any program, I was like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, it just sapped the energy out of me because I just didn't enjoy it anymore. And then as soon as I know, like, oh, I've got a paycheck coming this month and it's going to arrive here like every month, like,
Yeah.
there's definitely a weight was lifted off my chest. Like, I can just open Maya and model stuff, and there's no judgment. There's no like, oh, this has to be good because I want to get, I need to get a job. It was just like, oh no, I'll have a job so I can do this for fun. Like,
Yeah.
it's no,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, is that something that, I mean, you've obviously experienced that for a while now, right? You've been working in the industry 5 years, but do you still feel like the fun is in it for you? Do you still feel like you're enjoying? the process? And I mean, are you doing 3D still, like at night or when you have time, or is it mostly kind of all just within your work right now?
Oh my god, hell yeah, it's still fun.
Yeah, oh, that's good.
Actually, when I was at uni, I can see what you mean now. You've just mentioned that, like, just thinking when I was at
Mm,
uni and I didn't have a job, I was so stressed and I got really depressed and I found
yep,
it really, really hard to do any work.
yep,
I absolutely hated 3D at that point and I was really considering not doing it anymore.
yeah,
Um,
same.
but then when I went into sumo
Hmm.
and I did it 9 to 5. It was scheduled.
Yep,
Like I had to do it.
yeah, yeah,
And once I sort of overcome like the initial leftover depression from uni and
school,
all the
yeah,
stress and everything, I started to enjoy it more, and then I loved
mm,
it, and then I got better and better and better. So yeah, I
yeah,
see what you mean. But as for like stuff outside now, I did do stuff like when I was at coaching,
hmm,
and I did start to do a bit of sumo when I
hmm,
had the chance, obviously because of like traveling and my son and stuff.
of
But
course,
I think my perspective throughout COVID has changed a lot. I've
right,
dropped all my freelance work. This is actually this talk now is the first thing 3D wise I've done out of work since starting Ubisoft.
right,
Um, and I've just been so much happier, and I've loved my job, and my
yeah.
work's so much better. So
I mean,
everybody's
that's
different.
yeah. I mean, no, like, but that's positive at least because I mean, I think, I mean, definitely one of my fears was, and I think that fear was founded in a weird way that I'll talk about quickly. Where when I'd done my uni time, you know, I was lucky enough that I pushed it enough. You know, I was out seeking because the university where I went in Paisley, they had or had in the past a working relationship with Access Studios in Glasgow. You know Access, right? Access Studios, yeah. So they done internships at one point where people would come up from the university and they would do some time in the studio and then go back and get experience.
Yeah,
And at the time when I was there, they'd kind of lost that. But then when I went into industry workshops in 2016, they were at a table and I kind of introduced myself, say, I'm from there, I'm from Scotland, and I'd love to check Access out. I've heard a lot about you guys. And because I think at the time they had just done one of the cinematics for Halo 5. So it was like, oh, well, that's going to be pretty amazing, or it's going to
yeah,
be really epic. So, and I think that experience kind of put me off when I was there because it was so intense. I mean, know the work that I was doing, but I think the people who were working there were so intense, right? It was, you know,
yeah,
there's such a big studio in regards to like the projects they handle. Because when I was there, they were working on like League of Legends. They were doing the cinematics for Destiny 2. Like there was a lot of big, huge things going on, and I felt just like a small fish in a massive lake. Like it was just overwhelming for me. And that is my
yeah,
first experience was what I think was bad because now that I'm working for what could be conceivably perceived as an indie studio, I feel a bit more relaxed. Like
yeah,
the work is still plentiful and there's enough stuff to do, but I didn't feel that huge overwhelming pressure. Like if your first job was like, well, your first job was sumo. I mean, that's massive in itself, right? But like, I don't know if there's a massive difference between sumo and Ubisoft because they're pretty much both AAA studios. But like, I don't know if like that's the best thing to always aim for is to be in. Because like when I went to do a talk weeks ago, online to some kids who work or who are in Mold University, and they were like, "Oh, you know, I'd really love to work for Blizzard. I'd love my first job to be for like Rocksteady." And I'm like, "Well, that's great aspirations, but like they're huge studios to go into for
yeah.
like straight to university. That's like a big ask for anybody, pressure wise and expectations." And I mean, have you ever kind of felt that? Like, have you ever felt like that? Like, have you? What I'm trying to get to is, have you ever felt that pressure since sumo, or have you just kind of went in a role each time, just kind of, you know, moving with the tide? Do you feel like it's been quite a smooth transition? Like when you first started at Coat Sync, when you first took your first project on the Dekogon, when you started your first week in like Ubisoft, has it all just kind of been like, has sumo been the only time you felt really like pressure?
Um, I suppose it. I don't know. It kind of depends on the company too, like which you go in. Like
Right.
my experience of the smaller company was probably not as good as your experience at your
Right.
company.
Right.
But Sumo felt more like a smaller company too, because at that time they only had Sheffield and Nottingham studios. They didn't have like all the Newcastle, Leeds, and everything.
Right.
It was just a little bit smaller than it is now. I mean, it's bloody massive now, but
Yeah.
I
I mean,
suppose so.
yeah.
That like the pressure, mostly for me, was Ubisoft because
Right.
that's where I've always wanted to work. I applied when I was at uni to do
Mm-hmm.
an internship, and then I applied another 4 times throughout my career. And then fifth time lucky.
Yeah. But then again, it's like, I think at that point when you'd walked into, I mean, it's probably like a blessing in disguise, right? Where if you'd gotten the first time, like, how different would that experience have
Oh
been?
god, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like compared to when you had already had the experience of Sumo and Coat Sync and of course working in
Hmm.
Dekogon, like, then you feel way more prepared for whatever they throw at you, because that's all experience is really, right? Like you've been thrown enough problems and you've solved
Yeah,
them enough
yeah.
times that you didn't feel like you're going to run away with your head screaming, like because you don't know what to do. Like you've kind of got a level head on you, and I think when you go into something like Ubisoft, uh, that's going to be a benefit, right?
Yeah, I think it's like the best case scenario. Like as I've gotten older and a bit more mature and more experience, I
Hmm.
definitely can see like I've come at the most perfect time. I've got experience from another AAA and a smaller company. I've dipped my toes in every possible place, but I
Right.
still want this. It's still the one that I want to go to.
Yep.
But I've come in with enough confidence and skills to be able to enjoy the job like I've always wanted to. But if
Yep.
I got in as an intern, it would
Hmm.
have probably ruined it for me in a sense because I'll probably be like panicking about, oh, what if they don't keep me on at the end? I've got to prove myself. I've got to learn this. I've got to learn that.
Yep.
Whereas I've
100%.
come in with skills and they trust me to do the job and they
Yep.
know that, I'm going to be a good person to have on the team. I
Yep.
definitely think, like, from my experience, I'm so glad
Mhm.
that I came in when I did rather than going straight into that one. So, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think somebody always talked to me about it where, because I think early on when I was listening to a lot of talks, people were saying the same word over and over again, and it was lucky. Like, oh, I'm lucky to be here. I was lucky to get this job. Oh, it was just, I was really lucky at the time. And somebody once said that he believes luck is preparedness meets opportunity, right? So
Mm.
you've prepped yourself enough, you've got the skills, and then something comes along, bang, there you go. They two meet in the middle. That's the luck. That's what luck really means. So I've started using it in a different way where I'm like, well, I'm lucky to be here, but then it's not a negative of like, because people assume lucky means that you've done no work up until that point, right? You've just fell in it. You didn't do anything. But I like to view it as you've just had an opportunity because, you've worked and worked and worked and then something's just came along, you've grabbed it at the right time and there you are. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting, I think, for where you're working now. I mean, obviously, you can't talk about what you're working on, but like, it's a big studio, big IPs, big adventures, bigger than life stuff that they work on. And Ubisoft internationally, of course, is a massive, huge, ginormous, gigantic company. So
Yeah.
fringe benefits for that stuff, and they also have so many studios under their wings. Like one of my
Yeah.
favorite studios is Massive in Sweden, right, which are a huge studio and do amazing work with the Division. Like that's such a great studio, and it's one of these things where I'd love to work there one day, but then you know, I know the people who already work there, right? We know them,
Yeah.
people like Jeremy who are just legends in the industry, and I didn't think I could sit next to somebody like Jeremy and feel
Yeah.
anywhere on par with like what he's doing. Like I would feel so lost. And yeah, I mean, I think it's. I mean, I don't know if you feel like there's certain skill gaps you have, but like I know for me, even though I'm quite comfortable in Maya modeling, like I still feel like my engine work is really, really low. Like I'm just not familiar enough with Unreal and my texturing as well. Even though I can use Substance, isn't it? Like the best stuff. Is there anything you're kind of like learning right now? Given that you're obviously way more senior, like is there anything that you're kind of diving into now that you feel like you're needing to polish up on? Because at this point, and with Ubisoft, right, you probably have like a lot of foundations covered, like 3D modeling, texture, lighting,
Yeah.
engine work. Is there anything that you're kind of working on just now, or?
Well, I think like this is something as well that I've had to learn like throughout working in the industry is
Mm-hmm.
you're never gonna know everything because there's always gonna be something else that you need to learn or something new's coming out. Like when photogrammetry got big, now you've got to learn this, you've got to learn that.
Right.
But yeah, for me, like, well, so I kind of like started as a vegetation artist. Like that's mostly what I did on
Right.
Hitman. And
Okay.
then from there, I've actually been doing a lot of vegetation because that's what I know.
Right.
Um, and props now, so I'm really happy not to do as much vegetation. But no, I want to dabble in more like I want to try my hand at like photogrammetry with vegetation and like more like organic modeling, like rocks and stuff. Because there's some amazing like artists on Twitter that post these rock sculpts, and I'm like, oh my god, I want to do that. It looks so amazing.
Is it no
But yeah.
crazy how you get excited over stuff like rocks?
Yeah, I know, right? You could be out on a walk with your family, with your dog, and be like, Mum, hold on. This rock is sick.
I need to take a picture. Give me 2
Yeah.
seconds. I remember a couple of years back when I just left my job, one of my friends, because of where I am in Scotland, he had a friend in Rockstar North. And he was like, if you want to meet up with him and ask a couple of questions, like he said, he would give us some time. And I was like, oh, it's really kind of him. And I
Yeah.
met the guy, and he talked about one holiday, or not even just one particular holiday. He would talk about when he used to go on holiday, and his wife would kind of get on him. But he took a camera and he used to take pictures of like everything, like rocks,
Yeah.
trees, like wood textures that he found, or weird, cool marble patterns, and she just couldn't move like or walk through places without him just like taking a million photos. And it's like it's a weird obsession with artists, especially with 3D, because every time a new like substance comes out or something that gets really coolly designed in designer, like you
Yeah.
drool over it and you think to yourself, what has my life become? Like I'm getting excited about textures, like what is happening to me? But I think with art, you just learn to have an appreciation for the world, right? You just
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
look at it with different eyes. Like even like you said, walking the dog, like just staring at the trees and seeing how the leaves move and like how the sky's sitting and what the lights happen. It's crazy.
Sounds
You
like
never,
bliss.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
it's one of these things. I mean, this was back in 2016, and I met Yort, one of my buddies, who's a concept designer, and he was talking about, because he was at Gorilla at the time, and they had classes on mindfulness, and I was like, the fuck is that? like yoga? And he was like, no man, like just like being mindful of like like the ground and the pebbles and the rocks
Yeah.
in between them. And I was like, this sounds like crazy talk, like you sound like mental and shit, like what is going on. But then it's weird, years later you start to say to yourself, all right, yeah, that's a thing, like people do now. Like it's especially when you start to work in bigger things like AAA, because the way obviously console progressions are happening, like everything just needs to be so much more realistic and
Yeah.
grittier and better textured and more polys, and even now like I've seen some people like dabbling in like the Unreal 5 stuff, like the high poly mesh stuff you can bring in
Yeah.
like full sculpts and stuff, and I'm like, I can't, I mean nobody can use it obviously, it's just no ready for game production, but it's crazy to see the leaps that we're taking every time
Yeah.
something else comes out. Are you I mean, particularly with Unreal, are you working in engine a lot, like outside in your personal work? Do you find you're quite comfortable with Unreal now, or is it still as foreign as it was way back when you started? Or, I mean, how is your relationship with engines? Or do you even use Unreal? Do you use Unity? Do you use something else? Or
Well, for work, we use the one we use at work, but
right,
I
good
have,
save.
yeah, yeah. I've used Unreal a lot at uni,
Right.
and then we used it on a couple of projects at Sumo.
Right.
So I know Unreal for environments and props,
Right.
but the new stuff not so much because well, my kids spilled orange juice in my computer, so since then,
Oh my god.
my PC's not being able to do, like, I don't have like the best graphics card anymore, like, so.
Oh
But it
no.
is on my bucket list.
Yeah, I could imagine. Like, yeah, I mean, see, to be fair now, the problem I think even building PCs is just getting hold of components, right? Like, it's
Oh yeah, especially now. Like, I had to buy my sons for Christmas
right.
from a eBay scalper, and it was like £700 for the 3070, which is not £700. But
Jesus,
as a
wow.
parent, you got to do what you got to do at Christmas.
Yeah, I know it's definitely one of these things, but it's crazy even just now with the 3000 series. Like, I mean, even the fact that 3080s are a bit more readily available, I didn't want to get a 3080. I want a
Yeah,
3090, but then I think the cheapest one I've come across of them is something in the region of $3,000, and I'm just no paying
that's
that for a graphics
ridiculous,
card.
man.
It is. I mean,
Yeah,
it's actually cheaper to buy a brand new PC with a card in it
yeah,
than get the card. Like, it blows my mind how that is a thing, but like it is,
it's
and
ridiculous.
it is crazy. Especially for, I mean, some of the guys I know, like, who were building these crazy rigs for 3D rendering, they were waiting something like 13, 14 months just for something to get done and built because it just was, silicon is gone. It just
Yeah,
seems to just not be available anywhere. And, especially when I've got a job, I'm thinking to myself, I could get something pretty beefy. Like, I could really, like, make something pretty spectacular if I save for a while and got something really good. But then even try to get parts, like, even just looking the other night, I was trying to put together like a dream build and just like pick stuff. But every other thing I was picking was like out of stock or 6-month wait limit or like pre-order. Send it to the email list. We'll tell you when it's in stock. I'm like, oh, gone
yeah.
away.
No, it's. I mean, I could really go upstairs and use my son's PC. His is way better than mine. He's got a curved monitor and everything, and I'm just sat down here with my 4-year-old monitor.
It's the sacrifices you make for your kids, though.
Oh
Like, you
yeah,
just want
totally.
want them to have something good. But yeah, I was looking at the curved monitors as well recently. Like,
Oh yeah,
I've got three. I've got a 4K in the middle and two 1080p's at the side, and one of them's vertical. But like I was saying, I could just ditch all of them, just get one ultra
one
wide.
big one. Yeah.
Yeah, people have talked about the Samsung Odyssey, the G9
Oh my
one,
god, yes.
like
Yeah.
ridiculous for like £1,000, and I'm saying to myself, is it really worth £1,000? Is
But
it really
doesn't
worth
it
it?
look so nice?
It does though. Like, it
Yeah.
looks and I mean, it's 49 inches. I'm starting to say to myself, like, is that maybe a wee bit overkill? But like, I don't know at this point. It could be really. I mean, like, I've seen some videos of people who have, because OLED TVs are really cheap now, so people have been
Oh
getting
yeah.
the 48-inch OLEDs, like the actual TVs, and just breaking their monitor into sections with some small apps that like put stuff in your windows.
Yeah.
But then I'm sitting like 2 feet away from my monitor right now. Like, the
Oh, and
TV's
yeah,
just going
you'd
to
be like
like kill
looking up.
my eyes. Yeah, I've got
Yeah.
headaches. Like, oh, ridiculous.
I mean, the thingy with the curved ones, though, like all the games that my son plays, like, I mean, he obviously plays like shitty Roblox and stuff, like all
Fortnite.
them
Yeah, yeah,
crappy kiddie games.
yeah. Yeah.
But like the stuff, like when I've tried to play on it,
Mhm.
sometimes like a lot of them, it's like really hit and miss. Some will work, some won't. Some will blue screen
Yeah.
your PC.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't think a curved monitor yet is worth it. I'm just going to stick with the two basic ones.
Yeah, side by side. I mean, it's the same with me, right? Because I jumped on the bandwagon a couple of years ago, really early in 2017 when I got this computer, and like the 4K monitor's crazy good. I mean, it's an Asus like a Pro Art series, so like they're super color corrected for like
Oh, yeah.
photography and stuff. So like it looks really nice and it's 4K, but like it's only 60 hertz. So then I've got to my point when I'm playing some games, I'm like, God, like the frame rate's really chugging and it's really not keeping up. And even then, I've got a 1080 Ti, which back then was a great card, but like some 4K stuff I play now, like I can't because it's the first world problems, right?
Yeah.
I'm sitting here like I can't game at 4K. This is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then I mean, but it's one of the. I think I almost envy some of the guys I know who do concept design because I mean a sketchbook for them sometimes is enough, right? But then
Yeah.
for us to open like a couple of files in like Maya Blender or run like Substance at the same time, your computer starts to chug a bit, right? Especially when you're getting multiple monitors in the fray. So it
Yeah.
just feels a bit unfair sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think I could ever run them at the same time, but yeah.
I'm lucky. I mean, I invested in 32 gig of RAM at the time because I was like, at the time I knew I was running a couple of things at once. I was like, it's probably going to be pretty handy. So like it has saved me a couple of times, but yeah, there's some like Yama Yourbrev's PC. I mean, when he was, I mean, I don't even know the specifics, but like it has 128 gig of RAM. I know that much, and like 4 graphics cards. So like,
Oh my
God
god.
only knows what he's rendering out of that. But like, yeah, that could run a small building. Like it's crazy the amount of work some of these people put into these rigs that are just mind blowingly expensive. But then it's like, I suppose it'd be funny just to go into some places like Ubisoft or Sumo and like see the computers they're running. Like you're thinking to yourself, are they really that advanced? Are they really like, like the cutting edge stuff that like is going to kill? I mean, like I know there were some places I've heard people have worked with like they're spending like £5,000 or £6,000 per computer, like
Oh
on
my
each
god,
rig.
yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
like it's weird though, because when you're building them at home, like, and you
yeah,
get these big ass sexy cases,
yeah.
million fucking lights all around it, but then you go into work and it's a little dinky, shitty black box, and you're like, how is that more powerful?
Like what is it doing? Jesus. But
Yeah,
no, I mean it's as but technology is a weird thing as well, because people will spend so much on the fancy cases and the lights, but then it's not
yeah,
actually adding anything. Like
no.
some of the base CAD machines I've seen are like shoe boxes, and like they run like these massive big
Oh
projects.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. So I guess when it comes to like the projects you're doing now and you're moving forward, what's the it's like, I guess no specific to what your work, but like maybe just even personally, like what's the next milestone? Is there anything that you've got in the horizon that you think that's something I want to conquer, or that's something I want to look into, or like when I've got time, I want to try and sink it into that? Is it 3D? Is it 2D? Is it photography? Is it? I mean, like I've definitely been like with Bedos, like I've definitely been impressed with like all the photography stuff he's been doing recently. Like there's just so
Oh
much.
yeah, like a bunch of
Yeah,
them have been. Yeah, no, definitely that's something I'm looking into. I'm saving for a camera now, but
right,
like I said, COVID has changed me a lot, like
right,
on what I want to do, and I
yeah,
know that I don't want to always be sat in front of my monitor. I love it at
fair,
work, but
yeah,
12 hours a day for me with my
yeah,
kid and everything is. So I want to travel more, but I
right,
don't like not being creative at the same time.
of course,
And going back to the conversation, about taking pictures when you're out traveling,
yeah,
this is the advantage, like, because my girlfriend works in industry too.
right.
So we both go and take a bajillion pictures. So we're
To
both
be
saving up for these cameras.
right.
Um, so we'll be able to travel more,
Mm-hmm.
take some pictures, and I'd like to do some, like I said, some more photogrammetry stuff with
Right.
vegetation and some stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
what's on the cards for me next. I was supposed to go to New York in November, but I
Right.
cancelled my bloody trip, and then a
All
week
right.
after they said, "Oh yeah, you can travel back to America now." So
Oh,
another
nightmare.
time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's still in the cards. I mean, we definitely want to go to Japan at one point. Like that's definitely on the bucket list. And
Oh yeah, imagine the pictures there.
oh yeah, I mean, like it would just be crazy. But then it's like the money to get there, the travel, the
Yeah,
time off work. Like that's a big investment. That's like, and I know some people who worked 4 or 5 years in a project and then like took a month like just to go to Japan because it was one place they could like decongest and just like be themselves and be quiet and no have like the hustle and bustle. And I think I just like to want to go more now. I'm a bit older. I'd want to go to somewhere like somewhere that's quiet, somewhere that's a bit serene. It's less city life. It's less, because I've done all of that for most of my 20s. Like I went to places where it was like just like thriving and like the heart of London and stuff like that, or across in America where there's like cities everywhere. Like I'd want to
oh
go
yeah,
somewhere
yeah,
where I can just chill. So yeah, I mean, definitely. Like even, I mean, like I'd love to work in Japan as well. Like that would be a dream as well. And anywhere in Asia, actually, I definitely have heard really good stories about some studios in both China and Japan and Malaysia. And then even then, like I mean, the same way, like America used to be a thing for me years and years ago. I used to just dream about working in somewhere like California, like Blizzard, of course. Like everybody knows me, knows that. Like I worked for
yeah,
Blizzard for a long time, but with the recent stuff going on there and just California in general and America. Like I'm questioning everything. I'm like, do I really want to go
yeah.
there? Do I really want to live there? Like that would it be that cool? But it's funny because when I had Michiko Tiara on and I was talking about like at the time everything was going on with the States, he was like, yeah, because he's from Poland, right? So he was like, yeah, it's no, it's no Europe, but at the same time, it's no like CNN. It's no, you didn't walk out your door and there's like fire and death and guns everywhere. Like it's just like
Yeah,
people think that because they watch the news, but in reality, it's not really like that. So, um,
yeah, that was on our end end goal was America.
Right.
I like the idea of going to, like the Washington Wilderness near Seattle and stuff, and
Right.
going all the way around there, and Tennessee and stuff. But
Yeah.
the scene like San Diego and
Yep.
California, and oh man, it's
So
so
many
many
cool
good
things.
companies. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy when I got to go to Lightbox in 2019 and like got to tour Blizzard and Riot and meet my buddies there, meet Lydia, who's new at Valve, which is a crazy big jump as well. And yeah, just like some of the studios around there, some of the people were just like super awesome and seemed like a
Yeah.
really cool community. But yeah, I think you just let so much of the world news trickle into your head, and you think to yourself, oh, it wouldn't be safe and it wouldn't be that great, and health insurance, like that's a whole thing over there.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
Jesus Christ! And because you've got kids, you're kind of like, oh, do they want to be doing gun drills in classrooms? Like, is that something I want for my kids? And it's crazy when your priorities start to shift as you get a wee bit older.
Yeah,
you think
definitely.
So
yeah, because for us, we've got to consider like all the high school fees and that if we were to go over with Leonard, and it's just too much.
Yeah, I think if you go into a good studio though, like if I know some of the bigger places, like if you go work there, like stuff like help with like financial aid for like schools and like health insurance and stuff is already covered. Like that's something that, so yeah, I mean, like, every company differs, right? But I know there's some bigger studios where like if you get hired as like a senior or you come across in a bigger role, like like health insurance is provided. There's stuff that is part of your pay packet that you get, money on top of stuff like your pay to help with health insurance and that. So yeah, I think it would be like anything, right? It'd have to be the right opportunity at the right time. It'd have to be something that was really like that really covered all the bases. Like your kids, your partner, job security, projects that were interesting. Like it would all have to kind of meet in the middle for something to be like, I'm going to go move to whatever. We couldn't maybe know America like anywhere in the world. It'd have to be the right set of circumstances. So who knows, Mary? One day, maybe one day.
Maybe. Maybe we'll be able to work from home forever, sell all our shit, get a van, live in the woods.
Oh god, I kind of hate that sometimes though, because I remember I was watching a TikTok once and somebody was like, I'm here in my van and check the view, and then this guy interrupted and he was like, can we just like stop glamorizing being homeless?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I get it, like it's cool, but like you haven't got a home, that's no as cool. Like, I mean, like there's a balance. Like, maybe like downgrade to like a wee flat or something, but like didn't live out a van. Come on. Like,
I know, but like I'm renting now. Is it much different? At least I would own the van, right?
I know. Well, I mean, like, I always thought it was. I mean, people talk about it on social media for so long that for us, like, well, I say us as a millennial. Like, I mean, I can still claim that because I was born in 1985, right? So I can still call myself a millennial. But fuck it. But yeah, no. But like, I always thought of this whole thing of like you can never be able to afford your own home. Like, it's a pipe dream. It can never happen. And Diane done it in less than 2 years. Like, just absolutely scrimped and saved every penny she had, put everything away, kept a hold of it, got really good financial advice from a first mortgage place that helped her out at kind of every stage. And the bank were pretty decent with her as well. And she found a new build that she wanted and she just went and applied and got funding. I mean, like, it sometimes can be just like, if you really want something bad enough, you will get it. Like,
yeah.
And you have, I mean, like, no, obviously getting in the nitty gritty your paycheck, but like, for where you work now, you'll have a decent living compared to most people in the UK. So I mean, you probably have a better stand on, if you wanted to have a house, it's probably more achievable for you than it has been previously. So because I know people, that are living on like less than minimum wage, like working at like supermarkets and Sainsbury's and Tesco's and stuff, and just like the thought of having to save any money for a long-term project is like, it would never happen. But like we were discussing before the podcast, like the money I've got now, like it's, I'm very aware how fortunate I am to be where I'm right now, and but also aware how hard I worked for it. I mean, so like it's no came for nothing. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's not an impossible dream anymore, I don't think.
No, it's just scary, but it's definitely doable. That's what we're doing next. That's our goal.
Yeah, the house dream's always the harder. I mean, it's been definitely the last month and a half, 2 months has been horrific, just organising bills and moving stuff in, getting floors laid and stuff put down in the garden, and
fun stuff.
I mean, all the adult stuff that you just love doing. You just, you know, I mean, there was points I was like going away for that stuff. I was like, I just want to sit down on my computer. I never thought I'd say this, but I just want to do something on the computer because I'm sick of outside. But it's like, yeah, it's one of these things that I think it's, if you work hard enough and you get to a position where you're lucky enough to have certain opportunities, then like it's getting more doable than it has been in the past. And I think also because the way the markets are looking now with house price inflations, like I think the market's on track to crash again. I think it's going to be another massive thing where it's going to fall through, which will be great for first time buyers, but shit for everybody else who owns a house. So,
yeah,
definitely a seller's market right now. But in a couple of years, I can see it being like 2008 or again. Market's just going to, the arse is going to fall at it, and it's going to be dead again. So,
well, fingers crossed. That's all I can do is hope.
I've got my money. I'm ready. Somebody do something stupid. Come on.
I'm just going to bloody build it myself. Get a shipping container.
I know. Well, or a van. Yeah, and or build a couple of vans on top of each other. Whatever suits.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Well, okay. Thank you very much for coming on and chatting, Mary.
Thank you for having us here.
Exceptionally great. Yeah, I mean, like we could do, I mean, something I've always wanted to do at one point, especially with 3D. I've done it a bit with 2D people, but is maybe get people on to look at people's portfolios that are submitted and maybe do a wee bit of critique or feedback and maybe give some areas to improve, stuff like that, or like even just further 3D talks or just hanging out and chilling. Because I mean, I think what I've enjoyed about our talk today is the fact that you're not all industry. You're quite, like you said, especially like you've kind of changed with COVID and life is now a priority versus work, right? So I think it's just fun when you get somebody on sometimes who can just talk normally. You know, they didn't have to be all industry or like, oh yeah, of course, Unreal Engine and photogrammetry. You know, like they just go on and on and on. I mean, there's a time and place for it. That's great. I mean, sometimes I just learn so much by listening to people, but it's rare I can sit down and have just a conversation with somebody about life and the world. And I think with industry especially, we all get too caught up in the workaholic lifestyle and no thinking about our mental health and no thinking about taking time for our family or our body health, like, or just general health. Like, it can get a wee bit scary sometimes, and I think it's good that we can sometimes just balance and have a fun episode.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah.
If you guys are still listening to this point, thank you for checking out. Hopefully you enjoyed stuff of what we had to say and got involved in the conversation. If you want to check out any of Mary's work, I will leave it all down below, and you guys can check it out on the multiple socials I'll leave down. Any questions or comments, again, leave in the YouTube spot that we're in. We're in Spotify, Google Podcast, iTunes, all those great things, but we kind of live on YouTube at the moment, so if you want to leave any feedback or likes, subscribe and leave some comments, that will always help us out. And that's pretty much it. Thanks again to you guys for listening. Thanks for Mary for coming on, and we'll speak to you guys again. Bye.
Thank you.